Hey, welcome back to another video. 2024 is the year of Shadow the Hedgehog. We'll be seeing a lot of the Ultimate Life Form this year between Sonic X Shadow Generations and the Sonic 3 movie, so I figure it's only natural that I, as a gigantic Sonic nerd, contribute myself. Throughout the remainder of the year, I'll be putting out a few Shadow-centric videos, whether they be about in-series lore or interesting tidbits relating to the series in general. Shadow's past, in particular, is a hot topic, so to lean into that, we'll be talking about Project Shadow today, the top-secret experiment that ultimately led to Shadow's creation. Much of this project is still shrouded in mystery, and while Sonic X Shadow Generations seems to be aiming to fix that, we're still 4 months out from the release of that game at the time I record this. So I'm gonna have to do a bit of theorizing and guessing as to where certain events happen specifically and whatnot. With that said, sit back and allow me to explain Project Shadow. Our story begins with Professor Gerald Robotnik, the greatest scientific mind of his time, being requested by the President of the United Federation to help work on a secret project, one designed to create humanity's ultimate dream, immortality. Initially, Gerald refused, believing that it was crossing lines that man shouldn't be, but soon changed his tune when he realized he could use it to cure his granddaughter Maria of the neuroimmune deficiency syndrome, or NIDS, that was affecting her. So he accepted, and soon Project Shadow had begun in secret aboard the space colony Ark. Gerald and his fellow scientists studied the Chaos Emeralds, eventually creating the Chaos Drives, to be used as a means of testing the transference of energy to living tissue. This is what likely resulted in the creation of the artificial Chaos, computer-controlled bioweapons modeled after the ancient god Chaos. Upon the success of these energy tests, focus was turned to creating an immortal being dubbed the Ultimate Life Form. Over the course of the project, Gerald made contact with Black Doom, leader of the Black Arms, during the period of time every 50 years when the Black Comet passed by Earth. Needing help with his research, Gerald promised to deliver the 7 Chaos Emeralds to Black Doom in 50 years' time, and in exchange, Black Doom helped out with the project, even offering his own blood. Eventually, the prototype of the Ultimate Life Form was completed, a mutated lizard dubbed the Biolizard. As the Biolizard grew, it exhibited some of the traits that had been the goal of the project, such as regeneration and the ability to self-reproduce, much to the joy of the researchers. But this wouldn't last long. The Biolizard began growing beyond expectations, and in addition to having a mind similar to that of a primitive beast, it was incapable of walking and had to be kept under constant observation. Eventually, it became difficult for the researchers to even keep it under control. Once it became clear that the Biolizard was not what they desired, Project Shadow shifted to a second specimen. I'd hazard a guess that this is around the time Gerald actually came into contact with Black Doom, since at the time I make this video, there's no real evidence that Black Doom had a hand in the Biolizard's creation, and it doesn't seem like the Black Comet sticks around all that long when it does come to Earth. Due to the growing instability of the Biolizard, doubts began to arise about Project Shadow from within, questioning every aspect of the experiment. Information about the project was eventually leaked to Gunn, possibly from someone who had seen the Biolizard's erratic behavior firsthand. This, alongside learning of Gerald's contact with the Black Arms, made the government consider shuttering Project Shadow altogether. In an attempt to buy time, Gerald presented the higher-ups with the Gizoid, an adaptable robot he had discovered while researching an ancient civilization. This didn't work out exceptionally well, as the Gizoid eventually went on a rampage that destroyed much of the Ark. Still, Gerald was eventually able to complete Project Shadow, making use of the DNA sample given to him by Black Doom, and resulting in the creation of Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow was every bit the success that the Biolizard was not. He possessed immortality, didn't need machinery to keep him alive, and had very high intelligence as well as a sense of identity. Gerald did his best to ensure that Shadow wouldn't become a weapon to be used, giving him a soul similar to that of his kindly granddaughter Maria, the very reason he had signed on to the project in the first place. But it wouldn't be long before the government's fears about Project Shadow reached a boiling point. Gunn formulated a story about a biohazard breaking out aboard the Ark, requiring the residents of the colony to be evacuated and the research facilities sealed off. In reality, they planned to forcibly shut down the Ark, completely erase all evidence of Project Shadow, and blame Gerald Robotnik for the incident. Soon, gun forces invaded the Ark, evacuating civilians and eliminating the scientists involved in Project Shadow. Gerald had Maria escape with Shadow, the two of them making it to the escape pods. But as Maria was helping Shadow escape, she was shot by one of the soldiers, and in her final moments, launched Shadow's pod down to Earth. Within a week of the operation starting, all civilians had been relocated to the Earth, the facilities on the Ark had been shut down, and all personnel announced as victims of the purported accident, save for Professor Gerald, who was publicly reported to have gone missing. The Ark was subsequently sealed off, the Biolizard kept within the colony, presumably to keep it from falling into the wrong hands. Rather than vanishing, as the government had publicly reported, Gerald was taken to Prison Island to continue his research, this time under the supervision of the military. Shadow had also been retrieved by the military and brought to Prison Island in stasis. While he was working on Prison Island, Gerald learned that Maria was among the victims of the Ark that day, his grief eventually driving him mad. He continued under the pretense of furthering his work for the military, but in reality, Gerald was plotting his revenge, creating a program that would cause the Ark to fall to the Earth and destroy it, and conditioning Shadow into carrying out his revenge when he awakened. Becoming worried about how Gerald could eventually retaliate, the government properly incarcerated him on Prison Island, sealed off the island, and completely shut down Project Shadow. Gerald recorded a final message condemning Gunn and the Earth as a whole for what happened to Maria, explaining his final plot for revenge. Afterwards, Gerald was executed, officially bringing an end to Project Shadow. The legacy of Gerald Robotnik and Project Shadow would continue, however, being discovered 50 years later by his grandson, Dr. Eggman, leading into the events of Sonic Adventure 2. But that's a story for another time. Project Shadow remains to this day as possibly the single darkest part of Sonic lore to originate from the games, standing in stark contrast to much of the rest of the series. And I think that's what's kept it so intriguing even after all these years, to the point that now in 2024 we're still learning new information about it. As I said at the top of this video, there are still details about it that are unclear, like the exact time frame of certain events, but that will almost certainly change when Sonic X Shadow Generations releases in October, given Shadow's own portion of the game, and the pre-order bonus that is Gerald's diary. Hopefully that doesn't totally invalidate this video. For now though, that is the history of Project Shadow. Hopefully you liked this little deviation from my normal style of content. I'm planning on doing more stuff like this in the future, so if there's some Sonic lore you're curious about, let me know and I'll give it some thought. A list of the music used in this video can be found in the description. That's gonna be it from me today. Have a good day, and I will see you guys next time. Eventually becoming worried about how Gerald could retaliate, the government properly incarcerated him on Prison Island, sealed off the island, and completely fucked up that take by hitting the desk. God damn it.